Okay, so this is the short summary for the people that are already in a group and need some quick help. If you're a DPS, stand directly behind the boss, but not in the green stuff. Focus the Prey Seeker droids, which the boss will summon every couple of seconds. Those will stun you, so you need to kill them as fast as possible. When the boss casts the big orange circle for the first time, all the DPS players and only the DPS players need to stand inside it like this. If you're a healer, keep your tanks at more than 70% HP at all times. Then focus on healing the group. And finally, help with boss DPS. When the boss casts the big orange circle the second time, and only then, you as a healer need to stand inside it. If you're a tank or a DPS with taunt, you need to taunt the boss once he uses Lethal Strike on your co-tank. It's very obvious when the boss will cast Lethal Strike because that's when he jumps up in the air. But you can also spot it when your co-tank gets one of these stacks. That's when you need to taunt. After 30 seconds, the boss will use Lethal Strike on you, so pop a defensive when you see it. You want to pull the boss along the outer edge of the arena, facing him away from the group, and position him in a way that the DPS can stand behind him without standing in green stuff. When the boss casts the big orange circle the third time, and only then, do you as a tank need to stand inside it. Finally, a note for everyone, if you did stand in some stuff, and you do have these orange stacks, you will take a lot of damage, so move into the big orange rectangle that looks like this to cleanse yourself. Last but not least, interrupt the big ad called Supplicant Construct in the second orange circle phase because it heals the boss. That's all for the short version, good luck and have fun. And now for the trick that makes this fight really easy. It's not really a trick, it's just that you need to know the right comp, the right classes to play. So let me explain. This fight is about avoiding the green stuff on the floor because the green stuff gives you a debuff and that makes you take a shit ton of damage. This will kill you, so obviously don't stand in the green stuff. But the problem is that as the fight goes on, the room fills up with more and more of the green stuff until you have nowhere to go. So you have to kill the boss before the green stuff fills the room or the mistaken construct spawns. That's the enrage, which kills you. This is one of the reasons why in my previous video on the boss I said you need at least 22 to 25k DPS, and this is true if you are running a standard comp, which would be 2 tanks, 2 heals and 4 DPS. But because the boss hits like a bitch, 1 heal is actually enough if people don't stand in random green stuff. So we swapped to 2 tanks, 1 heal and 5 DPS, but that still wasn't enough. We were still lacking a bit of damage. So I thought, okay, I'll pull out my skank tank gear. So this is video from our try with 1 tank, 1 skank, 1 heal and 5 DPS. But with this setup, we ran into an issue that I kept stealing aggro from our full tank and got one shot. Why did I get one shot? Well, when I said the boss hits like a bitch, that is true, except he does have one hard-hitting move that you need to know about if you're a tank, and that's of course Lethal Strike. Lethal Strike is a 1.5 second cast, after which the boss leaps through the air and hits whoever has aggro for 250k, unless you use a cooldown. Lethal Strike also puts a debuff on whoever it hit, which is called Softened Up. This debuff makes you do 75% less damage, and it also makes the next Lethal Strike do 2.5 times more damage than the first one, so that will one-shot you for more than 600k. This is the tank swap mechanic of the fight, meaning that if the first tank has this debuff, the other tank needs to taunt before the boss uses Lethal Strike again. Lethal Strike happens every 30 seconds, so be ready for it. But here's the trick. You can take 0 damage from Lethal Strike if you use an ability that makes you immune at the right time. An example, I use Power Yield with Super Commando Package here and take absolutely no damage. I've also done it with Mad Dash on Juggernaut, and Force Shroud on Assassin works as well. So that's why it's better to run a DPS with Taunt or DWT instead of a skank tank. First of all, DPS with Taunt does more damage. They can also tank Lethal Strike just as easy as a tank. And they are less likely to steal aggro from the main tank, because tanks have a passive that makes them generate more threat than DPS. So a skank tank will steal aggro, but a DPS with Taunt is less likely to do so. So we switch to the final setup. that I think is the best overall. 1 tank, which can also be a skank if you want to be even faster. 1 DPS with taunt, 1 heal, and 5 normal DPS. And this means you can kill the boss easily before the enrage, even if your DPS cannot do 25k, as is of course often the case with packs from the fleet. Because with this setup, you have 5.5 DPS players instead of 4. 5.5 again, because the DPS with taunt will not do full damage throughout the fight because of the lethal strike debuff. The only thing that can really go wrong with this comp is that people stand in too much of the green shit and get too many stacks, or if the DWT gets stun probed right as the boss casts lethal strike. I think a stun, fuck! Oh. Note that the stun droids will not target the tank, but they will target a DPS with taunt. So in this setup, it's even more important that everyone kills the stun probes as soon as they appear. Other than that, you will have so much damage that the boss should be really easy to kill and die in the second or third phase of the fight. If you want to do it like the pros, bring only AoE classes, everybody stack on the boss and cleave down the ads while also DPSing the boss. If you want to see how that looks and how the pros do it, I will put the link in the description below. So if you want to see some people that actually know what they're doing in PvE, make sure to check this guy out. But of course, if you're not a Nightmare Raider or you want to clear the boss with a pack from the fleet, you will not always have the perfect classes, but with this strategy, you can kill it nevertheless. Really any class in the game can do it. So let's look at one of our kills and how you can do it as well. So as you're running through here, you can avoid these ads. By the way, you can use your mount. There are also some ads in the beginning that also stand here. They kind of self-destruct as you run through them. So you can simply ignore them and keep on running. There are some smaller ads that chase you all the way. You might have to stop and kill them, but that's fine. You just kind of follow this way, avoid this whole group of ads. You can safely ignore them. Then when you get here, there will be kind of mini boss. That mini boss is really just a tank and spank, but make sure you have your healer with you because it does a bit of damage. And again, here you can see I'm spec'd into DPS, but I have my super commando implant as a PowerTech because I'm going to be the DPS with taunt in this case. So we quickly forward until people are here. Again, like I said, this is just a tank and spank. There's not too much to see. The most interesting thing with the complete construct is really looking at the DPS and seeing if your group is doing acceptable damage or not, because then you can see in the next phase is going to be quite interesting. Of course, you don't want to be really using any cooldowns here if you don't have to. And now we get to the main boss. And as you see in the main boss, like the arena is quite big. But once the fight starts and there's going to be green stuff everywhere, that's going to change pretty quickly. So we fast forward to the pull. Ready, check, and here we go. The main tank starts. Lethal strike on the main tank, and I taunt it off. Now the boss is on me. I want to turn the red rectangle away from the raid, because that spawns a green circle under your feet. So we're just tanking the boss. These imperfect constructs here, you can kill them. Like if they're close to the boss and you have AoE, it's fine. But if not, then the tank needs to just simply pull the boss away from these red circles, because once they explode, they will leave green stuff all over the floor, which means it's not safe anymore for your group to stand in. That was the lethal strike, which I immuned with my super commando package. The other tank taunted it off. Damage, damage, damage. You have these imperfect constructs exploding. Like I said, if you can kill them, it's good, but if not, it's not so bad. The only thing you need to make sure is that you kill the stun droids quickly, which I call the Prey Seeker droids. So here comes the Prey Seeker. I'm calling it out in voice chat, but you can also simply target mark it. And everyone needs to kill those droids pretty fast. There's the lethal strike on our main tank. You can saw the leap. I taunt it off, and now I try to pull the boss this way, like to the edge of the arena and out of the green stuff here. Orange rectangle, we want to stand inside it to cleanse our stacks. There's another Prey Seeker droid that you need to kill. So this is all happening quite quickly, but once you do it 2 or 3 times, you will kind of see it always happens in the same order, let's say. So it's pretty simple. There's the lethal strike. I use my power yield just in time, and our main tank taunts him off. Orange circle, so we want to stand inside that. And now we just hit the boss. Hit the boss, hit the boss. Stay out of the red rectangle. Don't stand in the green stuff. There's a stun droid, so we swap to the stun droid. And this is the first phase. Remember, here the DPS have to go in. I am a DPS with taunt, so I'm going in as well. But our healer and the tank stay outside. If you fuck this up, I think like the second time, then basically the mistaken construct will spawn and it will one-shot you. So it's really important that in the first circle, all the DPS go in, no one else. This ad that spawns does AoE damage, so you can pop some damage reduction cooldown if you have it, taunt it and pull it to the boss, because the boss is not immune in this phase, and you can AoE the ad and the boss at the same time for some extra DPS. You can see that's what we're doing here. Afterwards, we focus on the boss again. He is right now targeting my main tank. I'm waiting for the lethal strike. There's the jump, and I'm taunting. Taunting right away because you can see my main tank was at 20% there. Turn it away from the group, and then keep pulling it along the outside of the arena. Everyone is staying here in the cuddle puddle, so Tiba can heal everyone with an AoE. The one tricky thing if you're a tank or a DPS with taunt is that the boss doesn't really want to move all the time. Because when he's casting, he's just standing and shooting rockets at you or summoning droids, and he doesn't want to move. So sometimes you have an issue where there are imperfect constructs on the floor, you maybe get stunned, but the boss doesn't want to move. You cannot pull him out of the stuff. That simply happens. So you need to make sure of those phases when the boss wants to move and then pull him where you want him to go as a tank. Keep in mind that lethal strike is a jump. So whenever he lethal strikes, you can move him this way. So I have the aggro. Technically, actually, my main tank has the aggro right now, but I'm staying at range because I want the boss to jump out of the green stuff there. Another stun droid, we're focusing the stun droid, and there's the jump. I'm taunting the boss. Kathik makes sure to position it really well, so the boss is not in any green stuff. This is what you want. Moving out of these red rockets. So far no one died, I think good job. Orange rectangle to cleanse your stacks. Everyone was inside almost, very nice. This was pretty clean. And this was like, I don't know, our 5th or 6th run with a brand new team. We're all PvPers. No one here is a professional raider, I think, except for Socio. Here I get almost one shot. I think I was a bit slow, didn't pop my power yield. But because Tiba kept me at high HP, I survived it. We also still had the rest, so we would be fine either way. Orange rectangle, move inside it, cleanse your stacks. And you can see here, I have the softened up debuff. So Kathik is tanking right now, he has the boss. And this is the second orange circle phase. Now we want the heals to move inside. I'm trolling a bit, but Tiba is moving inside. I'm leaving in the last second. You can stay inside with barrier, that counts. Barrier, I think, will also cleanse your orange stacks, so that's nice. And this ad is important. Again, we're taunting it, we're trying to bring it to the boss. This is the reason you do DPS first and then heals, because the tank ad in the third phase actually makes the boss immune. Make sure to interrupt this cast that you see here on the second ad, because this cast will heal the boss, and that's of course the last thing you want. So we're AoEing, killing the ad, interrupting the ad. Now the boss is at 27%. It's dying pretty quickly. If you see our damage numbers, everyone is pulling very good numbers. Even as a tank, you can do, or let's say DPS with taunt, you can do like 14, 15k. And that's more than enough to kill the boss in 6 or 7 minutes. Yeah, another droid spawns, but as you can see, there's still enough space in the arena. It's not a big deal. We're simply doing damage and more damage. I'm saving my power yield because I'm gonna need to taunt the boss soon. There's another stun droid. So we want to kill that quickly. There comes the jump. I immune it just in time. And Kathik taunts the boss, turns it away from the group. You can see we're still pulling it on the outside of the arena. Boss is at 10%, another orange rectangle, and I'm at 0 stacks. So one healer is easily enough, as you can see. Doing more damage. There's another imperfect construct. We simply pull the boss out of it. Another stun droid spawned over here. You can see everyone is focusing it. I'm staying on the boss. Another orange rectangle. and the boss dies quite fast. So that's it, really not too complicated once you do it a couple of times, and even if you're not a professional PvEer, you can kill this quite easily. And a little bonus tip, if you are on imp side and you want to fast travel to the beginning of the instance, you can click on Activities, Solo, scroll down to Flashpoint the False Emperor, and the quick travel will bring you directly to the entrance of the operation. That's all for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know if it helped you in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.